Greetings everyone, I'm RSV. I think this topic has been ignored for far too long. Let's talk about Bujin-like enemies. So Arms Caveris, Arms Vera, Dancers on Beyblade, and of course Kiki Boy. The reason I want to talk about them today is because there has been a line drawn by SEGA, maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally, between them and the classes of NGS. They have done this by releasing the first enemy of this kind being Bujin, a katana user, and then releasing the Braver class as the first extra class that we had. In addition to this, we then get Bouncer, and then a bit later we get an enemy that uses jet boots, the Kiki Boy. Caveris at first glance seems to have broken this trend. I would say that Dancers on Beyblade is a good representation of a summoner doll, and we are probably poised to get Summoner soon. Though, you can also make the arguments for Arms Caveris being a summoner, as Arms Caveris summons little versions of himself. So again, it's not out of the realms of possibility. Now, I have a few theories about them, and they range in how interesting they are. Some of them are born from my community, and others I have come up with myself, or seen other people come up with them. But the first one I'd like to discuss is the dolls are emulating Arks Defenders. At first, this seems like an easily debunkable point, because the Bujin came before the Braver and NGS. So have a thought on that point for a moment. Darkfall's completely totaled all of Central Caveris, so it is possible that there were already Bravers, Summoners, Lusters, and all other classes during the Caveris period. However, they were wiped out or sidelined. Just because we don't immediately have access to them doesn't mean they don't exist. Though, Lost Central could also have had records of what happened on the Oracle Fleet, if the Halfinians are from Oracle Fleet, and if they do, they have access to deeper records. This brings us to the next theory. These enemies are emulating the Gaurdian. Now this one has a lot more extrapolation. However, there are a few similarities between Arms Caveris and Arms Vera to the Gaurdian's Dark Blast for Elder. Not to mention Bujin and Kiki Boy in particular fight more like the Gaurdian's version of those weapons, porting skills from those weapons in base game. And this would mean that Caveris has records of the Gaurdian, which is a plot point that could come up later. The last theory I'd like to talk about today is that these enemies are possibly fallen Arks Defenders that have been corrupted and turned into dolls. While fairly out there, it is very possible that these dolls are fallen Arks Defenders, because they do emulate Arks Defenders, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that they are Arks Defenders that were turned. In fact, we have historical precedent with that for the copies in base game, and it is possible that they just aren't fully copying the way that these Arks Defenders look, but are instead just stealing their abilities. However, these enemies all have some specific meaning hinging on their existence. If they just exist to emulate the Arks Defenders of the day, then they're just made to counter them, and the story ends there. But as the saying goes, fight cold with cold. What do you think about these enemies? Let me know in the comments down below. But I've been RSV, and I'll see you next time.